Thanks for tuning in to the Beyond Normal podcast, where we highlight minority business owners and founders, and we use this platform to shed light on their entrepreneur journey. How's everybody doing on this Friday? Welcome to another episode of the Beyond Normal podcast. As you all know, we have the second season in partnership with Valorant. They're our partners. We got some amazing entrepreneurs this season. We curated this list of special people. Myself, along with Brooke, who is the founder of Valorant. And I want to hop right into things because we have a very special guest for you guys today. So our guest today is Joresa Blunt. She is the founder of GoFlyy. GoFlyy is doing amazing things when it comes to on-demand delivery and return services when it comes to that retail space. Appreciate you for coming on for an episode, Joresa.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to dive in. Because I haven't talked about GoFlyy in a while. And my head has been down. So I'm happy to share what has been going on with us.
Well, we appreciate having you on the show. So like you said, I know you got a lot to share just leading up to this. You know, I said it was a no-brainer having you on the show. So I want to dive right into things. Can you give folks just a little bit of background on yourself, your experience leading up to you starting GoFlyy?
Yeah, well, first off, I want to say that I am from North Carolina. And yes, from North Carolina, Kinston specifically. We usually have a few basketball players come out of there. I started off in the arts, to be honest with you, acting. I went to New York. I started acting. I was also doing some other stuff to survive. I moved to LA. I started doing hosting, wrote a book. And I started to get really serious about the art of journalism. And so I fell into tech journalism and I started interviewing founders of startups. And I was fascinated. And in 2015, I got the idea for GoFlyy. It was different. It was a different idea. It has evolved since then. But 2015, just hear that because it's 2021. And I didn't know what to do with it. 2 years passed by. I was blessed enough to be surrounded around by some really powerful, badass women. And here we are. GoFlyy is now 1 year old. We are now in 3 major cities, and we are still growing.
Appreciate you sharing that story there. I'm going to take things back. I'm going to dig into things a little bit further because you have an amazing story. I know your background, like you elaborated on just a little bit. Try to get out of the North Carolina for a bit, move to the big city, had that experience. I guess, were there any, what were you specifically looking for moving from a place like North Carolina into the big city, like you mentioned?
When I moved to New York, first I had interned. Because this is how things, sort of happen full circle. I had interned in New York the year before I graduated from UNC Chapel Hill. And I had interned at a magazine company. So I was interested in writing, but I just kind of at some point put it to the side. But it's the very thing that actually got me to where I am. So when I went to New York, I fell in love with the city. I mean, when you're young and you're in a big city and things are moving fast, people are making money. It was just something that fit me. It fit me. It felt like home the first time I was in New York. And a few months later, I was living there. And I'm so grateful for that experience. I was there for about 9 years. I'm grateful for that experience. When you move to a big city, coming from a small town, you learn a lot of things very, very quickly, especially in New York, where people are very very, they can be aggressive. They can be very direct. You really learn how to survive, and build your confidence in a way of like protecting yourself, protecting your space, building your tribe. That's your first time. That was my first experience of building my tribe, finding my friends, finding myself. I wouldn't trade that experience for nothing. And the biggest thing that I'm missing, and I think everyone knows that New York is a hustle city, but you learn how to hustle. You learn how to work. Yeah. For real. Like,
yeah, I love that. I love that.
Going outside, but you're still going to work, right? Mm-hmm. When you go to a smaller city, what happens? Things shut down. Yeah. Things close. It's like, even in LA, if it rains a little bit, people go crazy. But in New York, things keep coming. And it takes a certain type of person who is going to get up and go out in the rain, go out in the snow, not in a car, walk to the train, be on the train, walk to wherever you got to go, to be at an audition, that you might not even get the gig. It takes a special kind of hustle to do that. And that'll take you a lot of places in life.
Survival of the fittest. That's what New York is. Like you touched on that, like the heart of that. Like Ed is very true. Mm-hmm. I grew up in the tri-state area up there, and like you said, when it snows like 6 inches, a foot of snow, like there's a chance you're still going to school, you're still going to work. So mm-hmm. You really gotta wake up. You gotta have that energy to keep yourself warm, because it can be a cold survival of the fittest type of environment. So I appreciate you embracing that. Coming from where you come from, I'm familiar with I'm here in North Carolina, so that is a big shift. That can be a culture shift, a big culture shock for some people. Yeah. So now, okay, so you touched on communication and that kind of being your bread and butter. You going to Chapel Hill, embracing that big city environment. Like, what was that spark that got you to thinking around the premise of starting GoFlyy? Like, what was that moment where you saw some form of a pain point or some evidence that this is the direction you should go?
So I was a receptionist at Nordstrom. That was really my first and only retail experience. I mean, as an adult. And it was, God is really, he's amazing in how he lines things up. I was freelancing as a writer, but I wanted to take on an additional income that was more steady. And so I got placed at Nordstrom as a temporary receptionist, and I wind up staying there. And, as an adult and an older woman, an educated woman, it was very challenging for me mentally, because it was like, I want to be doing more. But what I was able to see at the front desk is that operations of how packages would move in and out, packages every single day, and how people would shop, and how people, their behavior around that. And then my behavior of, I live in LA where there's a lot of traffic. And so I would literally think, why can't someone just go to the Macy's that's down the block, pick up my item, bring it to my desk before I leave, and go sit in an hour and a half of traffic? And so that's when the thought of the thought of GoFlyy started to change from, what I was originally thinking, why can't this happen? If I can get food, I can get coffee, I can get these things, in 45 minutes or an hour, why can't I get, a black dress to wear tonight in an hour or two? Why can't someone bring it to me? And then the other part of that was also, I love telling stories as a journalist. I really enjoy that. And actually that storytelling has always been the thread in every single role that I do. But I wanted something that I could actually create. I wanted to create legacy. I wanted my own company that I could create legacy and also pass it down to my family and to in their family and their family. And so I started to think that way of how can I create legacy? So the legacy piece, the pain point that I was having, and also seeing the need of people, they want to own their time and they want to own convenience. And so why not give them something that adds to the convenience? That's our core reason. It's like you should be able to do what you want with your time, not go sit in traffic, not go looking for an item for 4 hours at a mall and then you don't find it. Nobody should be doing that. Like time, and if we've learned anything in this last year, time is really precious.
Yes, definitely. You're dropping gems there. And so tell the folks, like, how does the experience work? Is this a consumer based process that you have in place, or do you work directly with like retailers and that's the business model? Like, elaborate a little bit around, typical scenario, how it will go leveraging the service.
Our core business model is with the retailer, but we are going to be opening up for the consumer to be able to control that as well. So what does that look like? We have partnered with certain retailers that offer our service of same day or 3-hour delivery. One of our clients a new client, is a clothing rental company based in Seattle called Armoire. I'm an addict when it comes to renting clothes. I don't really like buying clothes. I really love renting. I like the sustainability, but however, we deliver people's packages same day. So they literally can go online. This is in Seattle. They can go online, fill up what they call a case, go ahead and get their rentals for the month, and we will literally bring it to their house in a matter of hours that night. And what's so great about that, we've even gotten feedback about people saying, oh my God, this was my anniversary. Me and my husband haven't been out in weeks because of a pandemic, and I wanted to go out, and I got my clothing right in time for me to put on my dress and head on out. So that's what we do. We bring people their items in a few hours, just from going online, them purchasing from our retail partners, and we will show up at their door in a few hours.
I love it. And you spoke a little bit around the initial purchase, but I think something that you're focusing on that's very interesting is the idea of returns.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you buy that one thing and it's not the right size, the color is not the right, shade of green or shade of whatever color that you purchase. How do you guys help retailers out with that process when it comes to returns and satisfying their customers?
So it's just that reverse logistics, the reverse process. Something doesn't work out for them. So we do have two ways. So this is where the consumer side comes in. People can go to our site and they can launch a return request. And we can go pick up from their house and take it back to the store, just so they don't have to get in their car and head back to the store. We'll take care of the return for them. Because if anyone is like me, I actually have some stuff I need to return right now. Things will sit in your car, sit in your house for weeks, and you haven't returned them because you just don't want the inconvenience and the hassle of returning. So we will take care of that for you. Even if it's something that you just want us to drop off at the post office for you, we'll do it for you. You don't have to wait in line. We'll do that. With our retail partners, you can actually do the return through the website. And so we are launching that process actually with Armoire. So those people who are renting their clothes, when they're ready to get more clothes, we'll pick up those rentals, the old rentals from their house, and then we'll take it back to Armoire and we'll pick up their new rentals. And so we're looking to get more partnerships to do those returns, because I think it's so important now for retailers to think about innovation and to think about how they can move product as quickly as possible and affordable.
Mm-hmm. I love it. I did a little research in terms of returns. I was like, hey, how big is this market? And I pulled up a study, did a little digging. This is University of Penn, Wharton School of Business, up to 10% of what we purchase in any given year. is returned. I think in 2018, which is the last year of the study, that was close to $400 billion, right? Mm-hmm. So what you're talking to is like
that is the number. I was like,
yeah, we're returning stuff a lot of times anyways, but a lot of times we just want the right size, the right color, and then we're satisfied with the product. And so, you're helping businesses out with that because they want satisfied customers. Like you said, we have that one item and then we just forget about it. And then like 3 weeks later, we're not satisfied. We have a product we can't fit or can't utilize. Like just imagine if we could quickly get a new size or get the right product that we want, we'll still shop with the retailer at the end of the day. So that's a win-win all around. And these are some big numbers. These numbers were bigger than I thought they were in terms of returns.
Yeah, it's a huge problem. And also, there's the whole issue of items being in landfills. Like items that just like couldn't be returned, that's a huge problem. Mm-hmm. And if we could get the item back to the store as quickly as possible, there's an opportunity for that retailer to be able to resell that item. But what happens a lot of times is that we keep it so long because we don't want the hassle of returning. And now sometimes you may have gotten that item on sale and now it's no longer popular and they can't resell it. Mm-hmm. And then when it starts to get liquidated. And then when it goes to a place like a Ross or a Marshall's and then still no one purchases it, it has that opportunity of winding up in a landfill, which is awful for our climate. So the quicker we can get that return back, that retailer is able to extend and expand their relationship with that shopper. Because now it's like, no, we really want you to have the right item, just like you said. Like, was it the fit? And we asked those questions. Was it too big? Was it too small? Did it just not look like what it looked like on the website? What is it? So we're collecting that data for them as well, so they can understand customers and what they want and what they don't want. So,
yeah, a lot of opportunity there, and I appreciate you knowing your stuff. Knowing the whole ecosystem, like you said, a lot of people don't know that clothes kind of flow from the big box retailers down to a Ross or TJ Maxx, and then eventually from there, like you said, it goes to a landfill, other places where it essentially just ends up as waste.
Yeah.
So I wanted to dig a little bit because I know you've leveraged some different resources to grow your business, accelerators. I'm curious to know if you could just elaborate for the audience how that experience has been, kind of drinking from a fire hose, right? Using some of the resources that are at your available to kind of get up to speed a little bit quicker, learn the lay of the land, and just share a little bit so folks can know the resources that are out there because a lot of people don't know.
Yeah, so I did. I've been into three programs that helped me just like get my business from out of my head to where we are now. And I think that's really important, especially for someone like myself who I don't have a business background. Also, when I thought about this company, literally, I was just thinking about the fun part on the front end of, I get to get items, in a few hours. But the base of my company is logistics, right? So someone who doesn't have that core background in logistics, and I'm also a first-time founder, it is so essential to be part of programs. So my first one was a program called Female Founders, which is based in San Francisco. And then I also did Grid 110, which is based in Los Angeles, here in Los Angeles, where I am. And then my last program was Founders Gym, which is virtual. And all of those programs really helped me take it from idea to prototype to MVP to launching to now having revenue. And I would say for any founder, if it's your first time, or even if it's not your first time, I think it is so, so important to be in those type of programs, to know what is happening, to have access to what is happening in the VC world, especially if you want to raise money, to also surround yourself around other founders. That is the one thing that I would say is the most important thing, because it can get so lonely on this journey and you don't know what you don't know. And I would have to say that if anybody's thinking about Founder Gym, it is one of the best programs when it comes to the community. The community is amazing. Anything that you need, any resource that you're thinking about, it is like really within within reach. And you have to surround yourself around people who are on the same journey as you are, so that you can exchange ideas, so that you can exchange resources, exchange contacts. Like, you need that. So I highly encourage people to definitely do an accelerator, a program to get you forward. And kudos if it offers you money as well.
Facts. You got to fund the business some way.
You got to fund it.
And it's very interesting that you brought up the idea that, like you said, your background, quote unquote, is not in business, right? So I guess when you're having conversations with investors, is that something that you actively have to tackle or bring up, or it's usually a non-issue? You not having, quote unquote, a logistics or a business background?
It is an issue for some people. And I have had people bring it up and say, hey, I mean, I literally had an investor say, I looked you up on LinkedIn. I looked at your background, and immediately I was like, mm-mm. And I was like, oh, okay. Okay. That's cool. And I would say, if you don't have the backgrounds, there's still options. Learn as much as you can, in which I do, and also have a really strong team. I don't have to know everything about logistics, but I can hire someone who does, and I can bring someone on my team who does. And I don't want that information to scare anyone, because here's the thing, he just wasn't my investor, right? The one thing that I learned when I was a journalist and I was interviewing founders, and I've interviewed a lot, probably 100 founders. And the one thing that encouraged me to move forward with GoFlyy was that these people didn't have the background to do what they were doing. They were passionate about it. Mm-hmm. I remember I interviewed one of the founders of Bloom Nation. They do deliveries of flowers. It's like a marketplace. And like how they got started was very, very interesting. I think one of his co-founders, which I think is a family member, happened to win at a poker game. And that money was their first investment. And I was like, well, how do you even know? I mean, this is 3 guys, right? When you think of flowers, you think of women. And so I was like, well, how did you get into the floral business? He was like, well, I had an aunt that did it, but like I didn't do it, but I was just really passionate about helping other entrepreneurs be able to have a better experience, like finding customers. It's about that. It's about, do you want to solve the problem? So, that day, that just wasn't my investor. And so you just have to find the person who believes in you. First, you got to believe in yourself, but believes in you that you'll carry out what you say that you're going to do.
I love that. And I think you touched on something really important there in terms of when you're first starting your business. A lot of times people are investing in you. Like you said, like they understand the product, but then they're also looking at you. Like, are you a go-getter? Are you going to be the one who owns it? And so, you know what, like you said, that one conversation that you had, you're going to meet other investors who are going to be interested, and they're not going to be thrown off by you not having that background. And so just, keep that in mind, keep at it, fight through those no's. We got Brooke Sinclair here chiming in. Yeah, Brooke is our partner. We both know Brooke. Black women are awesome. I could not agree more, Brooke. Again, Brooke is a real, advocate, as you know, Joresa. She is a real advocate for all things female empowerment right now.
Yes.
And so, the gems that you're dropping, like this is what people really need to hear, because we got to really, I don't know what to call it, demystify or just put stuff in the right light in terms of this entrepreneur journey. It's not going to be easy, is what you're telling us.
No.
Right. But you can overcome it. You can just put the will into it. Where there's a will, there's a way. So I appreciate you elaborating on your story there. So I want to dig a little bit into you being a business owner, some of those pain points or some of the things you've learned. What's something that you've learned throughout this process that you wished you would have known a year and a half ago when you first started GoFlyy?
I think that I wish I had just started sooner. Even though I think we started at the right time, but I do think like I was constantly in my head about how to do things, what was the next step, like navigating. And so I remember thinking twice about joining Founder Gym, and I wish I hadn't hesitated. I wish I had just went on and did it and not hesitate. So if you're hesitant about investing in yourself so that you can grow, don't hesitate. You need it. It is an investment in yourself. One thing I still working on, but I want to let founders know. And I know people say this all the time, know your numbers. Well, let me break that down for you, because it's like, oh, okay, know my numbers, know how much, my TAM is, what's my market, no. You need to be able to know how much your business can produce revenue-wise if you raise XYZ. Like, know what that is. And I'm learning that. I think I've made that mistake so many times of like, not like I knew the numbers, but I didn't know the numbers. And a lot of founders don't. Find you someone who's an expert. I don't care if you have to just, if they're just a consultant, you're just paying them for a couple of hours. Have somebody do your model for you if you need to, but know your numbers, because it's not about that first presentation of this is how much we need to raise, and this is what we're going to do with it. When you get in that due diligence process, there's going to be a lot of questions about your numbers, and it's going to get down to the nitty gritty. And you have to know that number story in your heart. You have to know it. You have to know it, and you have to be so confident about it that you convince them, no. So this is how, and by Q4, we're going to make this amount of money, period. So I would say that to founders, and be ready. I've been on a few Clubhouse conversations lately. I know, right? I know, because I was like, I don't know how I feel about it. So I've been listening in, and this is to my people. Be prepared. It's not just about the idea. Like they say, ideas is nothing. Everyone has an idea. You really educate yourself about how to pitch to people. Be prepared to answer the questions that investors are going to have. If you're asking people for $150,000, $500,000, $1 million, you gotta know your stuff. And it's not about them being mean. It's not about them not wanting to open the door sometimes, people are biased, but sometimes we are just ill prepared, and it's not our fault. We didn't know about I didn't know about Silicon Valley until like 2016, and I lived in LA. I didn't know anything about startup world, didn't know anything about it. So we're kind of playing catch up still. So find someone on LinkedIn, find a mentor, join a program, like really educate yourself so that you're ready for the moment. So you don't waste the moment. That's what I would say.
I love it. And just to touch on that last point, you dropped 3 gems right there in terms of what you've learned throughout the process. But that last one in particular, I use it. I break it down into a simple example. Somebody in my family comes to me and says, hey, I want to borrow $50 to $100. I'm going to ask like 5 to 10 questions right off the bat. So imagine, like you said, if you're going to somebody and you're essentially asking them to write you a blank check or a set amount of money, they're going to have questions. And a lot of times I'm not asking my cousins to show me a spreadsheet. right? Or my family member to show me a spreadsheet, but they're going to ask you like, hey, how are you going to almost guarantee or give me a high probability of getting my money back? Like I need to feel comfortable with giving you this money. And so, yeah, you know what, you're spot on. And it takes time that's not something you can't even Google a lot of that stuff, right? Like you said, you got to have conversations. You mentioned you're on Clubhouse, LinkedIn. You mentioned the Founders Gym. Founders Gym is free, by the way, right?
No,
It isn't?
You pay for. Yeah,
okay.
It's a paid program.
I can't remember. I feel like there's a couple free ones out there. Yeah. I'll make sure that I follow with our audience there so they can know some of the free resources that are in place. But yeah, like you said, you're leveraging the most of your resources. I appreciate you sharing that. And those gems you just dropped around what you've learned and like you said, your people that look like me and you, what they can do moving forward so that we can start getting more and more of these big checks because they're out there.
And we have, and I mean, no bias, but it's still Black History Month. So I think that we have so many dope ideas in our community. And I think it comes from lack of not having certain things, right? We get creative. We make do with what we have, especially, I'm coming from the South, you're in the South, like my mom, my sister, we make do with what we have. And then we have these creative ideas of like, hey, if we just had this, we could do this. We have some really great ideas and we don't have to, we don't have to struggle to scale our business. There are people who are willing to give us money, but we just have to be prepared. And I'm teaching myself that too. I am right now bootstrapped. I'm not venture backed yet. But fingers crossed that will change before the end of the year,
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Oh my gosh, my computer just did something crazy, guys. Oh my gosh.
Me or not, I was like, maybe it's me that's really frozen. I'm like,
no, it wasn't you. I promise. I was in the conversation and then something, God just said, just shut it down real quick. I don't know. We're back up and running. That was scary. But where were we at? So yeah, you're giving some valuable information there, and you're actually giving me a great segue into the next question. So you mentioned this is Black History Month. We have had a full 12 months, if not longer, of great dialogue around social equities moving forward, politics. Financial literacy, financial equality. Like we've had some amazing conversations along with dealing with COVID, which is the wrench that we all want to go away. But just given the conversations that we had in 2020 and we're continuing some of those into 2021, how are you feeling right now? You mentioned earlier, just being a Black female founder. How do you feel like these conversations are setting you up for success, if at all?
You mean conversations on podcast?
No, not podcast. Let me clarify. In terms of when you think about George Floyd's situation we've had some really interesting conversations, right, around social inequities, financial literacy, politics, even like what it means, like what should we be asking candidates for? I guess how are these conversations, like how are they impacting you and your business moving forward? Does that make sense?
It does. I think I can answer. I think these type of conversations, especially amongst my community, meaning Black people, Black and Brown people, I think that sense of that our eyes are open, right? That we're not being quiet anymore. That we are raising our voices about these instances that affect us mentally, things that affect our communities financially, that keep us from growing. Even the conversations around venture capital, around funding for Black women. In particular, us not being quiet has me personally as a founder has empowered me and has pushed me forward, because now I feel like I can show up at the table as my full self, and I can create a table as my full self, and then I can invite other people to the table as their full selves. And that's important. I don't have to do the dance anymore. I don't feel like I don't have to do the dance anymore. I can be my full self. This is who I am. And so that's why I can strongly say, when I say like, oh, that VC, that venture capitalist, that investor, he wasn't the right one for me, and that's okay. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with me, and it doesn't mean that I have a shortcoming. It means you just weren't the person for me. And so I feel empowered because we are now having these conversations, and we're taking it to our political figures, and we're challenging them, and we're talking about it in this consistent conversation. And it must feel tiring for people who are not Black, but I think we've been quiet for a really long time, and we have accepted the corporate way for a long time, that which I feel like has held us back, that we had to be a certain way, we had to sound a certain way, we had to look a certain way, we had to dress a certain way to excel, to get money, to have a business. The entrepreneur looks so different now. I mean, like, I feel like I can, today, yes, tresses. Tomorrow, I might have an afro, and I'm going to have a meeting, and I'm not going to feel anything about it. And that may seem very small to someone, but it's not. That's showing up as your full self and saying, this is me and all of my Blackness. This is me with it's just all of me. And not feeling that I need to shrink or I need to fit a certain mold. I am the face of the next founder. I am the face of a future unicorn. I am. Not this person, not that person, not Jimmy, not Johnny, Joresa. Joresa is the face. And that's powerful. And so we have to keep having those conversations about the injustices of our community. We've come a long way, but and it's heartbreaking that we've had to have so many tragedies for us to say enough is enough. But I think those were the sacrifices that had to happen for us to get to a place of not wanting to be quiet anymore. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that we'll ever change, and we'll never go back.
I appreciate you sharing that, and that's the sentiment. I think you really encompass like what Beyond Normal is supposed to be about right now, giving you the founders like yourself just a platform. Hey, here's what I'm working on. Here's the support I need. Here are the tools that I'm using. Like you said, now is not the time. I've been saying this for a while. Closed mouths won't get fed in the future. So it's better that we have a seat at the table, like you said, or even make our own table. I like how you position that, where there's some opportunities now for us to, be in industries that historically we've been on the outside on. In addition to that, creating our own avenues, creating our own revenue streams. We got some exciting things coming up. 2021 feels like COVID is still here, but it feels like we're in a moment where there's going to be some real big shifts. And I appreciate you owning, really owning the moment, taking charge, just given all that's going on. So you touched on something there around, just being able to, be your whole self. You mentioned the hair, just being able to wear your hair however you want. That there's some power in that. There's some comfort in that. And so one of the things, I appreciate you, owning your power, owning the moment. One of the things we created with Brooke when we started the season was we wanted to really dive into what success looks like for the business owners that we have on. So we came up with this term, this question I always ask: what does world domination look like for you in 2021?
Wow. World domination looks like for me. So I'm going to couple this with what you just said as well, what success looks like for me in world domination. Employing people is what makes me feel like we have world domination. We've been able to employ drivers, to employ people on our core team in a pandemic. We are paying people. And that is nothing small to me. So the bigger our fleet of drivers are, the bigger reach we have to be able to employ more people is world domination to me. And also being able to, again, allow our customers to own their time. When we think about our core customer, we think about the mom that's at home, that's doing homeschool with their children, cooking, running a business. Some of them have side hustles. Some of them also are married. Maybe they're single moms. Like, world domination means you get to get some of your time back because of this service of convenience. So employing people and giving them their time back, that's world domination for me.
I love it. At the end of the season, I'm planning on taking all these big goals, these big milestones that we have from founders like yourself. I just like having them on a wall, like putting them somewhere. We're gonna figure out what to do with them. Even checking with you to see how they do, how the year went. Because I think there's something to you kind of manifesting, you saying some of these goals, and then us kind of admiring them on the wall, right? And saying, wow, like she's really going to have a fleet of drivers, like running her business, making sure her business is running smoothly, and then giving people time back. I can only imagine how many seconds, how many hours you're going to be able to calculate at the end of the year in terms of giving people that time back as well. So that's awesome there. I appreciate you sharing that. So you shared a lot with us. How can people, let people know, Joresa, how can people reach out and stay connected with the brand and maybe even use your services?
Yeah, so you can find us at GoFlyy.com. That's GoFlyy.com. We are on all platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at GoFlyy USA. And feel free to contact me or be connected with me. I am on Instagram. That's where I usually live. And I'm at Joresa B, as you can see. And feel free to find me on LinkedIn. Send me a message. I would love to connect with you.
Appreciate that. And, one last time, I want to pass it to you. I guess, what do you want to, I always do this for the founders, what do you want to leave people with? Again, the audience for this is going to be a lot of potential entrepreneurs, right? Like, what do you want to leave the audience with as we go through 2021 and maybe, look to inspire the next group of entrepreneurs, just giving your feedback? Like, what do you want people to take from this interview? Lasting moment.
I would say for anyone who is like a new entrepreneur or thinking about diving into it, let's be clear, this is nothing sexy and it's nothing glamorous. It does require hard work, but you can do it. If you have it in your heart, you can do it. It's a reason why you are having the thought about it, the vision about it, the feeling about it. You can't let it go. Do yourself a favor. start. It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm a starter. It doesn't have to be perfect. We can change it. We can change the color. We can reiterate. We can change the logo. We can do all of that in due time. But what you can't do all of those things if you don't start. So start. I don't care what it is. If it's just setting up your social media pages, start. If it's just telling a friend, I'm starting a business, start. If it's just getting a business card, start. Mm-hmm. Because once you start, the universe, God, whomever you believe in, will start to conspire for you, because now you are starting to be in alignment with something that is God-given to you, which is vision.
Mic drop. That's a mic drop. I'm done. I'm not even going to say anything besides thanks for tuning in to the Beyond Normal podcast. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Beyond Normal podcast. We can be streamed across all major streaming platforms in addition to YouTube. Come back again.